Ba-bum. Jason, we're back.
We're back after a long hiatus.
After a long hiatus. And if you're not listeners to Tartle cast, I was on my deathbed with COVID.
Yes. He had gotten run down and then got COVID. So
and then I literally run down. I ran myself down.
Yeah, and then it was like,
perfect host. And I wanted to think in my mind, that's just not fair. Because I'm healthy.
Right.
I eat better than probably most of the world.
99.9% of the world, yes.
And, I'm always working out. I'm in a pretty solid state of mind. Try and keep a low stress environment.
You meditate.
I meditate. And it got me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck?
Right.
That just doesn't seem like fair that the effort I've put into taking care of myself, I should sustain such a nasty little virus. But it got me. And it also, not only did it get me, it also gets me thinking. What is fairness? What is equality? And when we look at nature, and creation and its laws, plural, how does fairness really work?
It doesn't. It doesn't seem fair. I have you ever seen The Dark Side of Nature on Instagram?
No.
It's a great, some people can't handle it because it's graphic, but we always view like bears as like teddy bears. Disney has done this where animals are ruthless.
Animals are ruthless.
Have you seen the hero that had his little dog in Florida?
No.
Oh, dude, it's a wicked video. So he's on the golf course walking his little dog. Alligator grabs it.
The dog.
Okay. Goes right into the pond, in the golf course. This dude dives in there, but it was only like this deep.
Sure.
So he has a cigar. Old guy with a
I
cigar.
bet he did.
He has a cigar, and it was
iron.
It wasn't that big of a gator, it was like a smaller gator.
Yeah.
But he's prying open the gator's mouth. You can watch him do it. Holding a cigar, prying open the gator's mouth, and then chunks his dog, and then the dog runs away. Imagine it still probably was hurt a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably bleed, puncture wounds.
Yeah, puncture wounds.
But
yeah.
Was the gator thinking about fairness?
No.
No, there's an interesting aspect of nature here, is that I thought it was unfair of me to get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a function of selfishness or how I view myself, in interaction with everyone else. I look at a lot of things comparatively, and sometimes that is, it doesn't give you the most positive outlook on things, but I compare literally everything. Purchases, what I'm doing, how I do that, in comparison to other people, because I'm trying to elevate myself and learn from others. So comparative perspective for me, I find helpful. But that comparative perspective made it almost seem like, well, why am I saying that it's unfair for me to get this? Again, I'm truly no different than anyone else. Mm-hmm. And the virus does not look at me as like, oh, he's super healthy or, he eats well. It doesn't care. It's just looking for a body to inhabit. That's what it does. It's completely agnostic to whoever it's going to. It's like, oh, that person's Muslim. I don't want to give him the virus.
Right.
But, the way nature looks at it, it's just like you are a person just as much as everyone else. So there's a quality in whatever it chooses to do. It doesn't pick and choose whether you're, white, black, or, indifferent. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Nature just freely gives what nature is all the time. It's total fairness, even though with your own ego stepping in, it may seem unfair. It's just doing what it does. It's not picking on you.
No, but I think when you look at nature, because these are creational laws that we're looking at, what seems fair to that lioness, when that lion comes in and destroys all her cubs, literally just will kill them all just to say I'm dominant. That may seem unfair, but then when we pull back, and we'll get into this, and we look at the macro, not stay in the micro in our little tunnel vision.
No, we got to zoom out.
Then we see, well, there's a reason for that. Even as horrific as it looks, there's a reason for that. He has to maintain his bloodline. He obviously just beat the other lion. So it's evolution. He's that stronger.
He's a genetically stronger species of lion.
So it's like these lions are not fit.
Yeah.
the ones that I will create will be stronger.
Yeah, they'll be better fit for the environment and the stimulus around them.
And that if that happens for millions of years, then we get what we've had.
Yeah, and that's why you have these huge, just like clobbering around lions with these massive manes, and it's like that's why it's called the king of the jungle.
Yes,
they've driven themselves to that point.
But it seems unfair, though.
Yeah, these things seem unfair, but the laws that lion are bound by are the same ones that I am bound by.
Yes.
And they're the same ones that creation itself are bound by. So it would be unfair if, some laws only applied to certain people. A lot of us with our egos like to think some things don't apply to us, but they do.
Right. It's unfair that Joe Biden won and Trump didn't, or if Trump would have won and then everybody would have went crazy on either side. You see what I'm saying? And we know this with data.
Yeah.
When we get with Tartle, there's so much bias towards wanting to look at something, and you can interpret something, and we've seen this in religions. How many times have we taken ancient manuscripts and favored them towards the Inquisition? Or
That's exactly right. We become dogmatic, and we assume that there's no state of perfect equality.
Yes.
That somebody or something has to be lesser.
Yes.
When that is just fundamentally, when you look at everything else around you, just not true. Things have to sit in that state of equality. That creates that natural equilibrium. But those pieces of equality, those are the fundamental laws that allow us to make our choices. Mm-hmm. We're all equal in making the choices we want to make. We create our own unfairness. Nature isn't naturally unfair. It's our egos and our choices, our thoughts, that actually drive us to the state of unfairness and imbalance.
But the unfairness comes from, like you said, maybe not necessarily fully our ego, but it comes from our limited perspective. Like if you were living in Sweden, you would really, you may pay attention a little bit to the elections in the United States, but you literally be living your life not even caring.
No,
per se.
It's out of state, out of mind.
So all these people that created so much emotion towards this election, and everything was just post after post after post on Instagram about, whether you're on Trump's side or Biden's side or whatever. If you pull back once again and be macro and look at the whole world, it's relative. It's nothing.
It's not important at all.
The borders is silly.
No, and then you realize there's a falseness to this lack of equality.
Yes.
And it's like, we're saying that, the world, it's like, no, you're creating that false world. Mm-hmm. That's not how things actually happen. There's a line on here on our notes, and I think it's the last one. Would you mind reading it for me?
Yes. That was the one I was going to go to, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to go to that one first. Creation treats them fairly by giving their untruth truth.
Correct. So let's start at that first point. When you think improperly, you find yourself with negative consequences. Mm-hmm. Those negative consequences become a catalyst. They become a catalyst to drive you closer to the truth. So as you continue to do things wrong or things that are harmful or separative, right? There is an overwhelming strength on the other side that begins to build.
Right.
Because the system needs to balance itself out in equality. So if you act untruthfully, if you live in a world of untruth, right? In a world of, walking blindness or living blindness, the light's going to pop up somewhere. Mm-hmm. It might not be now, it might not be later, but the truth is going to show up.
Yes.
You can't hide the truth. The thing is, we live in this world of this false inequality that we create. And in doing so, we're squandering an evolutionary truth that can help us evolve much quicker.
Yes.
So what this says is that the more we squander that truth, the harder the truth hits us in the end. And you see that with many things in life, right? Most laws are written in blood. Humans are so stubborn, it takes us forever to figure out until some sort of bad event happens. And that's what we're talking about here with the truth. It's like when you deny the truth, when you deny creational laws by not observing them and not living by them, you're going to find yourself down a false equality, and then you're going to get smacked with the truth.
Right.
Creation will be fair by hammering you with the truth so hard where you're like, what just happened? And you become shook at that moment.
Right.
Right? That's that sort of process that happens over and over and over again. And that's how creation delivers fairness through that truth. And that truth is living in those creational laws.
Yeah, I think it reminds me, I think this was in the 1960s, the governor of Arkansas at the time did not want to do segregation.
Yep.
And so the president decided to say, I'm sending federal troops in. And so we can talk about that or whatever, but I want to use this like this because it's like, no, you don't have the power that you think you have.
Yeah.
I can easily bring these troops in and make sure that these Black Americans go to these schools, you know, and it's just like what you said exactly perfectly is whenever you begin to put definitive statements.
Yep.
Then that's where this fairness, equality starts to, you start to create this bubble. And then when you're making definitive answers that you think are answers, but you're living this falsehood of dishonesty, if you want to use that word, then it becomes the same thing. Now I'm doubling down on dishonesty, but you don't realize creation has, the universe has a whole freaking infinity of truth.
All the time.
It's going to double down and smack you harder.
And that truth never changes.
No.
The Bible was rewritten how many times?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the Quran?
Yes.
The Torah?
Same thing. Yeah.
What does that tell you? It tells you that they don't have pure truth inside of them.
Right.
If you have to rewrite something and its rules, that means they don't follow a creational truth.
We also have...
That means naturally,
right,
the laws and dogmas within those books are not laws of fairness.
Yes.
They're not laws of equality. And that untruth, no matter what it does, no matter how much that untruth is beating down on creational laws, saying we can control the hurricane, we can control nature, we can control others, it's not true. And in the end, you will always see that nature always comes out on top with its law all the time. Yeah. Nature doesn't have to rewrite its laws.
No, because they're called universal laws for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that universal side, when you look at it and then you see infinity is the power behind it is that infinity sign. How are we in our so limited 80 years of life even think that we even have any,
any sort of sway on this thing?
Yeah. There's always this old thing, like the old guy shaking his fist at God.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that statement before? And it always reminds me of the same thing. It's like these laws, to shake your fist at these laws, it's the silliest thing.
It's the silliest thing in the world.
Because now you're just going to live a life of you in your matrix feeling like everything's unfair.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's completely fair. No one's picking on you. Creation doesn't pick on you.
Yes.
No offense, but you're not special.
No, there's no such thing as Murphy's Law.
No, there's not. It's just, it's cause and effect.
Yes.
Okay.
All it is, yeah.
So if bad things are happening to you naturally, stop driving yourself into those bad consequences. Yes. But there was another half to that other note right there.
Creation treats them fairly by giving their untruth truth.
Yeah. So what it's saying is creation is naturally fair.
Word.
Creation always gives. It's constantly giving, and it gives truth. It doesn't give lies. Because if it gives lies, it lives in a state of unfairness, which then would be contradictory to its laws, and it could then not exist. So all it does all the time is gives truth. And that truth has great power to it. And there's fairness because it gives that truth to everyone. Even when you're acting improperly, it's going to show you the truth.
Yes.
Or like people like to say, show me the light. It's always showing you it. You're just not paying attention to it.
Yeah, it reminds me of Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is just always giving you
constant,
and it's streams of data that is used for, you can either upload or download.
Yeah.
And it's just a speed.
It's a good metaphor.
Yeah. But I mean, if you know what I mean, when I'm talking about that, it's this ability to be able to, do I have my password in? Am I ready?
Yeah.
Is this, and then, okay, am I ready to download this truth?
Think about a tree outside. And I like using this because this makes
oath trees.
Yeah, oath trees, ALAs. That this makes great sense to me, and I want to share this. If I have a criminal, someone who's done some pretty horrific things in this world,
right,
and I have a saint sitting underneath a tree, does the tree give shade differently to either person?
No.
Does the sun give sunlight more to one person over the other? No, it doesn't. nature, creation is always in a state of perfect fairness. It's our perspective, our view that that person's a saint and that person is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's our isolating judgment that creates a natural unfairness in our societal views, our perspectives.
What's Jesus on with two thieves on either side?
But the point
Same
is,
metaphor.
the point being that we are the ones that create that world of false unfairness, that false inequality. Everything is totally equal. We just choose to live outside of it. Is that clear?
No, I think, but I think what people need to understand with this, and something that I'm learning with these laws, especially when you look at fairness, is for me personally, I have biases and triggers.
Sure.
So, I mean, we can get real practical real quick.
Yeah.
So this trigger hits me, and then all of a sudden it changes my emotion. And then my emotion begins to play on my reactive state. And then I begin to, God damn it, I can't believe, and then I work myself up in this belief of unfairness to the point to where I'm, in this state where I don't want to show love. I don't want to show.
You were the cause of that entire state.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. 100%.
You started that whole thing, but you become so lost in this fantasy world of unfairness.
Yes.
That you're
it's
like,
a fantasy world.
I'm going to point fingers. I'm not taking responsibility for my feelings.
Yes.
Screw you. I'm mad, and I'm just going to be insane about it.
Yeah, insane. That's a good word, because that's
right?
what happened to us. It's a form of insanity.
Yeah, we get this weird state of unhinged, and we all have like triggers. I do. I'd have to think about mine. Mine are probably pretty whacked out. But
well, let's say a perfect example. I think is the closest.
This one
is you have a fiance.
Yeah.
So you love her probably more than anyone in the world.
Most definitely.
So the people that we love the most are the ones that bring out the most intimacy, the most triggers.
They bring out the deepest emotions.
So I would imagine through this process, 2 weeks of you being on your deathbed, and being stuck at home, the opposite of who you are, like to be out all the time and hiking and adventuring.
Yeah.
So I would imagine when you started to, at first you were probably just dependent on her because you felt like you're going to die. Yeah. But when you started to feel better, those triggers could come out.
That's what she actually said that. She's like, I know you're feeling a little bit better, but you need to like calm down because now I'm like, it's go time again.
Right.
And then when things aren't happening, I become triggered. I become triggered by lack of momentum.
Yes.
I'm a big person of momentum. And when momentum starts to stall, it's hard for me to deal with that.
But I think momentum is for me, and that's something too, but I always look at waves. So you have to get a big wave. I love big wave surfing. And I'll sit there on YouTube and watch those.
I love those guys surfing the Mavericks.
Oh yeah, it's just amazing,
especially off the coast of like Spain and Portugal.
Or now, where they what's the old dude that's super cool blonde? He's married to Gabby Reese.
He's the one
Laird Hamilton.
Yeah, Laird Hamilton.
But now he did that thing where now we take boats and then we take jet skis and we go out there.
Yeah.
So it's not like paddling to a wave.
No,
now
he's got to get the
way
big
out there.
ones out.
So, but that momentum wave, it wouldn't have happened. There's a lot of physics that play.
There's a lot gravity, of cause and effect that affects the wave actually generating that much force.
But there has to be a withdrawal before there's momentum.
Yeah.
Always. And so momentum can't just be solid wave all the time.
It can't just be powering forward in a frictionless environment.
Yes.
There's always a step back.
Right.
And there's like a reset or a concentration of that energy before it pushes itself forward.
Right. And that's all that you experienced.
And and that's just a trigger of mine.
Right.
Or what triggers me is when I see healthcare professionals smoking.
Well, some of the most unhealthy
illogic,
people.
Yeah. It's just
watch DoorDash and all those places. Go to the nurse stations in the hospital. It's just constant fast food.
I don't know.
I don't understand that.
I don't know.
But people get oblivious. It's the guy that messes with the dead bodies. What's his name?
I'm sorry, what?
The mortician or whatever.
Mortician? Oh, okay.
Yeah. After a while, you're
what
like...
specific dude's messing with dead bodies?
Not necrophiliacs or whatever.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
No mortician. After a while, you're just like, here's another dead body.
Yeah.
I got to do this.
It's like they become so numb to life.
Yes.
Because they see,
where we would look at it where he may be kind of rough with a dead body and you're like, treat this person with respect. He's like, I've done 10,000 of these.
Yeah.
You
gotta cut him open.
Yeah. This is my job. He'll look fine for
he'll be good.
Which is silly how this is a side note, but this is fun.
Why do we put
makeup
on dead bodies
and then open a casket? That's so weird to me.
Here's what's strange about that too is nature wants to decompose.
Yes.
You're like trying to cover up nature and make them look nice. There's nothing to preserve by making their body look good.
Dude, it's the weirdest thing if you think about it.
Yeah.
And then everybody shows up and they have to mourn.
Yeah. Let the body go back into the
excited.
soil. Yeah. It should be a freaking party.
I like have you seen the thing where they do the ashes with the tree?
What?
So you can buy this, and I think it's like 300, 500.
Oh, and you grow into a tree.
Yeah, and there's a tree already in there, seeds or whatever, and then you put your ashes in there and then plant it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
It's good fertilizer.
Yeah. Or I'll have the military do it for free.
You can do
They'll bury me for free.
Really? I'll bury you for free.
Where do you
want to go?
I don't care.
You know what's weird? You can't just bury bodies.
Yeah.
I know that sounds strange, but it's like illegal to just like, someone dies, just like bury the body over there.
Yeah, we just have these. We have these imperialistic, puritanical type laws that we've exhibited from. Like, it's so funny. I was talking to you about Savile Row, in suits and stuff. There are still people that act like Winston Churchill.
There's tons of people that act like Winston Churchill. Go walk around Savile Row in London. I mean, like, you can just feel the air of ego just like coming over you.
There's people that are like
$10,000 suits,
newspapers. They get dressed up in the morning. I mean, we do.
They have servants come to them with white kid gloves and give them their orange juice. You know what I mean? And cigar.
Yeah, we have tech companies, so we always wear I think I had bright blue shorts.
You look like a Russian bodybuilder the other day.
People have to subscribe to TCast.
Yeah, please. You'd really appreciate the appreciate the view
if you enjoyed the technology side of things.
Yeah,
and the view. Yeah, I had blue shorts.
Why don't you act fairly and subscribe to all podcasts?
Yeah. Why are you distinguishing? That's a great metaphor. When we look at our ability with fairness to things that we prefer. Like some people love blonde-haired women.
The second we have preference, that steps in.
Yes, preference.
You're stepping outside of equality, right? You can prefer things, but you need to, at the core, always view things with a light of total equal lens.
Right.
Is there maybe?
It's like so many people get on both sides, and I want to talk about this because I think HDL would love this. I was watching Joe Rogan the other day, and he had the CEO of Whole Foods on. Okay. And that CEO had been there forever.
Yeah.
And you're going to be on one side of this argument. But I look at it in a different way. Joe Rogan's like the big meat eater, hunt, elk food. And so this guy's plant-based. So it's uncomfortable. They get in an argument. Here's the CEO of Whole Foods. He wrote a book on conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
And then he wrote a book on conscious leadership. That's what he came on the podcast to talk about. And then they sidetracked and got into a stupid argument. I think it's stupid about meat versus plants and how the studies are all screwed up and, both sides. I think it's like that.
Why are they so worried
but
about
it's the same. And your side of the branch, the vegan side, because Alex is vegan.
Yeah.
It's the vegan and the meat, these carnivore diets, people want to, it's Republican, Democrat. People want to just fight all the time.
They want to have polarities. They want to have they want to have an other. They want to have an enemy.
You don't want to associate with vegans. The only reason you're vegan is because you believe that all of life is sacred. So you don't want to kill. You wouldn't go out and shoot an elk.
It's not even like a belief. It's just, for me, it's obvious. It's economic.
Right.
It's environmental.
Right.
And the last one for me is emotional.
Really? The last one? I thought the whole approach to it was not killing.
No, I'm talking about in a sense, just in a logical sense, right? Because when you talk about belief,
right,
belief means I have to assume that I don't have all the facts. Environmental and economic are very factually based. Right. And then the third one is just me about myself, and that's just my preference. I don't want to kill an animal.
Right.
I don't want to kill people.
No.
I don't want to squander life.
Right.
Okay.
No, I agree 100%. And I think when we look at factory farming and all that, but see, it's like both of them. One, they should have had a conscious capitalism. They should have talked about that. Number two, conscious leadership.
Yeah.
And then number three, there was so many things that they agreed on. Joe Rogan hates factory farming just as much as he does.
Okay.
Why didn't they talk about that? Why do we have to say, you're the enemy now, your viewpoint is bad, I'm right, and I'm going to defend this to the point of all the other information that would have been helpful for people?
I'll tell you why.
We disseminate information that's helpful.
We have not grown up and we have not been taught to look at people with an equal lens. We look for comparative differences. Remember I said I look comparatively through the world? Well, there's two ways you can do that. You can do it with a negative lens.
Yes.
Where you look like that person is the other, or you can look at it comparatively to say they're another human being just like me. Exactly like me. Same laws, same rules, same everything. They just make different choices with different thoughts.
But what you're saying here is the truth and the untruth. It's like, for instance, whether it's Trump or Biden, or we can reverse Republican, Democrat, whatever, they would almost, if somebody came up with truth that would help humanity, they would almost, if it wasn't from their side, they would squash that truth, squash that ability to be able to help, because it doesn't line up with partisanship.
This is why
tribalism.
This is why I like data so much. It's completely agnostic.
Yes.
It's non-dogmatic. It has no preference towards anything. It's just an output of information from our actions. It just is what it is. We can't, there's no unfairness in it. It's just saying this is the state of how things are.
How do you accept how things are? Like, you take a vegan, for instance, that is, chained themselves to a factory farm and bawling and crying, and they can't even live life, because there's probably some mental stuff going on there too.
Sure.
Or you take a guy that, that's like, fuck vegans, I'm going to shoot them all.
I'm going to shoot a rhino.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop that. First of all, that's stupid.
Any animal that's almost extinct.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to hunt, you don't need to hunt animals that there's not very many left. That is the stupidest thing.
Get a Facebook Oculus.
Or the thing that gets me is like trash and stuff. I hate that. I don't care if you're a hunter or a hiker or whatever.
That killed me when I lived in Philadelphia. Dude. So much trash everywhere.
That's why I like the guys. There's a guy named John Dudley, and I follow him because he's such a he's a big time hunter, but dude, he is like hardcore conservationist, with lands and stuff like that, because he understands how do you develop a renewable resource. Like, he was going against that Alaska,
that pipeline.
Yeah.
Listen, when you look at conservationists and you're like, how can a hunter be a conservationist? Some animals, some species get very badly out of control, where the natural environment has a hard time.
Pigs in Texas.
Yeah, managing
right.
something when it becomes so feral that it begins to destroy all other life. That has to be managed.
Yes.
And if the guy wants to eat the giant feral pig, okay, cool. You didn't let it go to waste.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
Dude, I saw literally there was these pigs that came out in Texas in this field that they had just planted or whatever. And there was 3 mom pigs that came out, and literally like 12 pigs there was like 40 pigs that just showed up out of the blue, and like 30 of them were babies.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they become huge hogs. They run at like 40 miles an hour, big tusks.
Yes.
And they destroy everything.
Well, it's like, it's the thing with coyotes. I didn't know this, dude. This is crazy. The minute that one coyote goes down, or a pup is killed, or a pup has a problem or whatever, it puts the whole pack
at risk.
All the female, no. All the females begin to ovulate.
Really?
Isn't that wild? That's like a vibrational universal thing. They immediately know. Yeah. No matter where they're at, whatever dens or whatever they're in, they all go into it to produce. I mean, because look how amazing coyotes are with us.
Yeah.
We'll see them right around here in Albuquerque.
And they don't want to walk around in this environment, but we force them to do that.
Yeah. But they've adapted very well.
They don't look at this as like, oh, this is unfair. This is just the new environment.
Yeah. I go to the park all the time. I see them every morning.
I go out and meditate on the mesa, and they're 15 feet away from me. A whole pack of them. And I'm like, well, that's a little sketch. Yeah.
Me too.
That's when you jump up and you're like yelling at them to run away. But, fairness is our perspective of this world. Our thoughts are our physical world, and how we look and what we do, and our choices are they're a direct reflection of our inner world. And when you talk about the CEO of Whole Foods and Joe Rogan, it lacks self-reflection. it's a world of creating a sense of other. There's not a real value in saying that is another human being just like me. They got in that fight because both of them did not realize a level of respect for them both being a part of, creation's laws and that fairness.
Yes.
If they both missed that completely, they never would have been in a fight.
Right.
Either of them would have never taken a conscious train of thought to even get themselves down that sort of emotional path. They missed that view completely. It's just always a sense of the other. We naturally have to put labels on things so we can live in this world, but we have to always remember in the deepest sense that fairness, that equality amongst everything.
And I don't put your identity in opinions.
No, don't.
Dude, you know how much, just knowing you, I've changed dramatically. But in my whole life, do you know how many times I've changed my opinion? And I'm willing to change my opinion anytime.
Sure.
And so when you begin to put your identity, and this is what we saw, especially here in the United States, with these elections, when you begin to put your identity, then that's where it becomes unfair, fair, unfair.
Yeah.
We've been going for 30 minutes here and we haven't even done.
No, I know, but
we did the smallest statement.
And for me to change, even for like my own change, I can be stubborn, but not in the sense, I'm stubborn in the sense that I will not be coerced. I have to be reasoned with.
Yes. You like logic.
That's why you
like data.
Logic, reason, rationale. Those are the things that creation has defined itself with. Creation doesn't live irrationally.
Right.
It lives in a completely logical format. So when I do things that are illogical, or someone tries to tell me something illogical or irrational, right there I know it's not a creational truth. Whatever they're saying doesn't align with reality.
But the sad part is, too, you also have that dichotomy of most of your super creative people, and we've talked about this before, are irrational and emotional, and they just create amazing art.
Well, they just let these things flow, even though they're in a state of imbalance. There's been great, hand healers out there, but they still have such an egotistical imbalance.
Yes.
Just because you have the ability to do something great that can help others doesn't mean you can help yourself, though.
Oh, dude, that needs to be talked about more. Think about that.
Yeah.
People, because how many gurus are out there? That Osha or whatever, the one that they had the Netflix special on or whatever. He was like, and then the one, the yoga that was in California or whatever.
The big event in the 70s and all that other stuff.
Yeah. They had those, and it's like, how can you be so wise and so fucked up at the same time?
That's the thing, and it's funny what people seem to hook onto, but your inner world, that fine fluidal world, it's not in balance with all the material things happening on the outside. Life is about that balance. There has to be equality of thought. There has to be, you have to give fairness to yourself, where you can't just look at the outside world and assume that's everything. You owe yourself and creation your own internal self-reflection. But a lot of us think we're just, too busy to do that.
Right. What is the scales, the legal scales or whatever? That's what I picture. Emotion, ration.
The big plates.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm picturing right now. It's like there has to be this weight of truth and untruth.
Yeah. And, you can deal with the untruth, or you can live in the truth all the time by recognizing untruth.
Yes. I think that's self-awareness.
Just by recognizing untruth,
right,
naturally forces you over to a creational truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, like for me, it was like I could get caught up in the election stuff and start posting a bunch of stuff. I didn't post anything on it because I recognize the untruth in the system.
The whole system is just untruthful.
It's untruthful. And you're just playing. Remember back in the day, Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik and WWF.
I love that stuff. Stone Cold Steve Austin 360.
Yes. We all knew that it was fake.
Yeah.
And we all knew that they were, at the end, they would probably go have a beer together or hang out and work out.
How jacked up does everybody get?
Yes. And it's the same thing to me. That's the political system.
Yeah.
It's like we're sitting and watching this arena. They're all for those guys are all,
it's a show, dude.
A comedian said this last night, and this was so great. He's like, this is so much insight on politics. He goes, I don't care about politicians because they're nothing. He goes, if you really think about a politician, he's like, he has used the weed example, marijuana. He goes, they were all against it's illegal. Then the people start saying, nope, we want this. This should be legal. This should be legal. Now look what's happening. Yeah. All the politicians are like, well, we need to make weed legal and it needs to be
whatever gets them a damn vote.
Yes. So they're just, the power is still in the people. It's still in us.
We need to recognize that power. It's
we don't have to go external. Okay, let's move on. Let's start for number one. Here we go.
All right, go ahead.
We've got.
We're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing good. All laws have their uniformity of logic. You just talked about this. Mm-hmm. And all universally have their validity in the small as in the great, micro and macro.
Yeah, so remember we talked about with the lion?
Right.
Things are just as valid on a microcosm as they are on a macrocosm.
Right.
If they weren't, it wouldn't be a law.
But ask yourself, pull yourself back and say, macro, what does this look like in any situation?
Yeah. Step back, remove yourself from the situation.
Yes.
Sit above and watch. Look at all the cause and effects together. And then look how fairness and equality is shared amongst all those things.
And maybe if you're macro, you need to get down into the micro and look. I think this is a great way to view situations that a person's going through in their life.
Yeah. Go in, go out.
Right.
Okay. Does it feel unfair right now? Back yourself up. Oh, wait a minute. That actually is fair. I asked for that. I was living in untruth.
Well, it's like, because we have a lot of young people that listen to the show. It's like if you get a C or a D on a paper, mm-hmm. and then you're like, I can't believe this professor doesn't like me. Da da da. She did this to me. Or
she's
whatever.
Attacking me. Blah, blah,
she's
blah.
attacking me. No, you kind of just smoke weed and play video games and hung out, and then you just tried to study for 8 hours in one day.
Yeah,
and put a paper together that you went on Google and looked all around.
They're specialists in the topic. They read thousands of papers. They're going to know when they're reading something that's dog shit.
So it's not unfair. It's you need to look at yourself and say, how much effort and time did I put in this? Did I truly? This is something I have to tell myself. Am I fucking myself over right now by telling myself an untruth?
Yeah.
I say a lie. That's how I compare it. But am I telling myself a lie now and then bamboozling me? I like that word.
Because you're trying to make yourself feel better about it.
Yeah.
But it's like,
play the victim.
Yeah. It's like, you're again putting yourself in a little box and saying you're being untreated, you're treated unfairly. Your thoughts, you're being unfair to yourself with your thoughts. Your thoughts are untruthful. Your thoughts are uncreational.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you literally went to the party, you did some Molly, you smoked a bunch of weed, you hung out for the weekend. Monday, you knew the paper was happening. So Sunday, when you got up really late,
cause and effect, bro. You know what I mean? What do you expect? Step back and look at the totality of your life.
Right.
Or what a lot of people think is like, why does that person have money and not me?
Oh, this is a good one.
Think about that. We're so like stuck on the social ladder and like this material world of what people have and what people don't have, haves and have nots.
Right.
That's not fair. I want a piece of that. Maybe the government should force those people to give it to me. Why is it for someone else to take responsibility for you when you haven't taken responsibility for yourself?
Damn, that's good.
Is that not true though?
That's true.
And if you don't see when they say people think something comes to fruition?
Yes.
What is the root of fruition? Fruit.
Mm-hmm.
The fruits of your labor. If you don't see the cause and effect here now, it's not because the world is unfair. It's not because creation's being unfair or not equal to you. It's just the choices of cause and effect, the interactions you have taken, don't give you an immediate gratification or material feedback. Well, maybe you'll see it 5, 10, 15 years from now.
It's so funny how people are getting so pissed off at Jeff Bezos' wife because the money she just gave. She just gave $4 billion.
I can't give $4 billion to anything.
And people are like, well, she got 60 billion. She only gave 4. I'm like, she gave $4 billion to help out causes. She didn't have to give anything.
No.
She married the guy, lived with him for a ton of time. They got a divorce. He found someone else. They got a divorce. That's the law. She gets half his money.
Is that like 16% of her wealth?
It's amazing. It's great. I'm all for it. Some of the people don't realize most of the good that is done in this world is done by people that are multimillionaires, billionaires giving money.
And even more so, people you've never even heard of.
Yes. Everybody's shitting on Bill Gates right now and the Gates Foundation. And yeah, there may be, we don't know what the vaccines and conspiracies and all that. But at the end of the day, when you look at how much money the Gates Foundation has received, how much they've given out, what help, I know on childbirth alone in Africa, they've helped tremendously.
Yeah.
They've eliminated
Dude, consider this logical fact, because you know how much I love logic. The world has not blown up.
No.
We have not nuked ourselves.
No. We could have.
That means there are good people somewhere doing something right.
Yes.
And you'll never see them. They're unsung heroes. They'll never be in the public eye.
Right.
But they're the ones that keep this world together. They heal things that are so out of sight, out of mind for you. It's just completely unimaginable.
It's just crazy to me to think that.
But they don't sit there and say life is unfair to me.
Or why did she only give $4 billion?
Yeah.
Who do you have to, like you said, you know, it's like the haves and have-nots, and and I want you to elaborate on this, because this is a problem that we have, especially in your generation and younger. These people are saying, you know, well, Jeff Bezos has all this money, or Apple has all this money. Why don't they just give me a free phone? You know, are these higher educations, you know, which I agree with this part, you know, we should, for the sake of our country, we should be giving free education.
Yeah, there's no reason that you shouldn't, yeah.
But I mean, still, at the end of the day, you don't deserve that. How do you think you deserve that, or that that's fair to just be given things?
Why is it that this gentleman had to sacrifice so much, and you feel that you, without any sacrifice at all, are deserving of someone else's fruits of their labor? For what?
Yes.
Because they have more, you feel like you need to have a piece of it?
Yes. Yeah.
That's not an equality of thought.
No.
You haven't fairly looked at that system. You've only looked at it from the microcosm of your little world. But if you back up, think about the totality that man supports.
Yes.
Think about all the systems that have been set up through his level of risk that he had to take throughout his life, his sacrifice, that allows you to get that damn package or that video game on your doorstep in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
And you want to squeeze them one more time because of their net worth, saying that I want one more material thing that I didn't have to work for?
Well, it's so funny because you're using the product. You're bitching about Amazon, but then at the same time, you're getting the packages.
You're a hypocrite. You're a damn hypocrite.
So why are people...
You're a hypocrite in the material sense, and you're a hypocrite in your conscious thought.
So why are people hypocrites with this fairness and unfairness?
Because
what causes them to be a hypocrite?
What causes them to be a hypocrite is they lack the internal self-reflection. They do not recognize the equality and fairness within themselves, their relationship to the universe on a macrocosm, microcosm level, and their relationship to others around them. They lack insight into that truth. By living in that untruth, they start to say these nonsensical things that contradict. There's no linear, rational thought that could possibly fit into their realm of their false reality because they haven't truly thought about it. Truth takes work.
Yes.
Thinking in fairness and equality takes work of the mind. Altering that perspective and not placing blame takes time. These things are not instantaneous, but you have to work towards it. But it is so easy to live in untruth and just point fingers and blame and ask for more when you've done nothing at all to receive that.
You know, and we were talking about this off air before, you know, but they're talking about maybe giving us $600 stimulus, giving everyone or whatever, if they make a certain amount or, you know, that type of thing like they did before. It's like
you're taxed on it. It's not even given to you.
What needs to happen more than anything is small business. These mom and pop small businesses, most of them have gone, I don't need $600.
What am I going to do with that?
You know, yeah, I need to pay bills and stuff like that. I get it. But I would rather give my $600 to these people that have had a business for 30, 40 years.
That are taking risk, true risk.
And see that infrastructure be built back up again instead of having, you know, all these just huge cogs that are, you know, in that have just gotten richer and richer and richer over COVID.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we don't need Walmart to be bigger or Home Depot to be bigger. I need that local garden shop that sells those plants. I need that, or that local co-op.
Or a restaurant that I enjoy the, you know, the artistic nature of the chef.
Yes. Not a cookie cutter building that's just looks the same and they just make Darby's restaurant or whatever.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Olive Gardens.
Yeah, it doesn't. What is that? What does that help for anything?
Even though bitches love Olive Garden.
Oh, Olive Garden. Dude, those breadsticks. Oh.
You know what's better there? You know what's better than the breadsticks? What? Is they have these little powdered donuts.
What?
That are hot and real fluffy and big, and they have a raspberry sauce.
Oh, dude, that sounds so good.
It is. I'm telling you right now.
That sounds so good.
It is I'm not lying here. It is my most favorite dessert out of anything I've ever had. That's how good they are.
And
so next time
can you get them full time?
Yeah.
I doubt they're vegan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Probably not with I don't know. You'd have to look on.
I'd have to ask. You never know.
Because I've ate vegetarian stuff. Like they have a vegetarian lasagna. I had that. Yeah. Cool. And then they have the salad. You know, I mean, I'm not like full vegan like you are, but I've had the vegetarian lasagna is really good. The salad is bomb with their Olive Garden dressing.
Okay, I do love Olive Garden dressing.
Yes,
like that allows me.
You can buy it at Costco.
That allows me to eat an unlimited amount of salad.
Yeah, that's what they have: unlimited soup and salad.
Oh, the pepperoncinos and
the pepperoncinos, bro.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know why I don't buy pepperoncinos more.
They're so good.
They're cheap too.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I'm so off track.
Here we go. The Olive Garden got us there. The equality of the human being justifies its entitlement. It's funny, we're like a step ahead of this.
Yeah.
The equality of the human being justifies its entitlement only in the following of the laws of nature and in the truth of the evolution of the consciousness and spirit.
Got it. The only thing in this world, people are like, I'm deserving of this. I'm entitled to it.
Right.
That entitlement attitude. That's an entitlement of material things. The only thing you're entitled to are the laws that you're bound by, that everything else is bound by. You are entitled to evolving yourself and your thoughts and nothing else.
I love that.
Because creation gives that equally to all, including itself. That's the only thing you're entitled to. You're entitled to that learning and that evolutionary path by following creational laws. That's your fairness.
Yes.
That's your equality.
Well,
that's the only thing a human being can be entitled to.
And it's such a beautiful filter. You can look at it and say, why am I acting this way or why am I feeling this way? Well, what untruth am I believing that is truth?
Yeah.
What law am I going against? How am I shaking my fist at the universe?
It's so, when you ask that question, what law am I going against? Or how am I not following creational truths, creational laws? It's just going to guide you always in the right direction. Whether it be a material direction, physical, geographic, or an emotional direction, or a direction of consciousness.
Yeah, and you talked about consciousness and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can segue here for a second and talk about consciousness and spirit. I know you talked about the evolution of consciousness, but the evolution of spirit and the distinction of the two.
Yeah, so the evolution of the spirit happens, we had our episode on reincarnation.
Right.
The spirit evolves after the body passes, because that's when there's that assimilation of knowledge that has happened over the entire consciousness, right? That consciousness block of life, that gets reviewed in the spirit. And those things that align with creation and evolution allows the spirit to grow. But when the spirit's inside of you right now, it's powering your body, but it's asleep. It's not, it's in a state of rest. So when it moves from the immaterial world, the fine fluidal world, and comes into our coarse material world, it's time to go to sleep. And then when the body dies, it wakes back up to learn and review all of these things in this afterlife, right? And the consciousness itself, that is something we're developing right here. That's right now in this specific time. We're trying to assimilate all these different inputs of this world so we can grow in our consciousness so that it can then, at the end of our life, feed that information to the spirit so that the spirit evolves. So we're now evolving in our thoughts and our actions through our consciousness. And our material world is a reflection of that. Even this studio right here, there's a little bit of chaos over here on the floor. That's a reflection of you and how you choose to carry yourself.
Right.
That's a function of your thoughts.
Right.
And at the end of your life, Jason, when you think about your death and you look back,
I'm going to think about the studio.
Yeah, you'll think of if you're really astute, you'd think about the studio, because just that cup falling over right there with the pens on the ground says a lot about you.
Yeah, it does.
It says a lot about the fact that you left it there. Right. Or you bought that cup, or you have too many pens.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many things that happen. There's a richness.
That's cause and effect.
Yeah. There's a richness in that, in viewing the cause and effect that evolves that consciousness, and the evolution of that. And when your consciousness follows creational laws, it energetically helps feed the spirit, because the spirit, that is the most pure form of creation itself. The para atma, the part parcel, the piece of creation, right? Your characteristic of it. So when you are consciously aligning with these things, evolving right now at this time, following creational laws, living in that equality, that truth, that fairness, you're helping yourself evolve at the most maximum rate. And then at the point of your death, when that spirit leaves this body, it's going to be able to assimilate so much knowledge and so much evolutionary growth that the next time it comes in to inhabit another meat suit, you're just going to be that much further down the path and closer to creation.
Yeah, and recognizing somebody that I had somebody do a past life reading with one of your friends that came, and it was very interesting how he said that there seems to be a system going on right now where the children are more evolved than the parent.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends, she was getting this reading, and she's like, I've always had to take care of my dad, and he talked about that there seems to be this, where, consciousness wise,
like a more evolved spirit has come down to help elevate and teach the others that are here. Age is not a function of evolution. Age is a function of getting closer to death. Evolution and the spiritual evolution or growth of a spirit, there's no difference to it, whether or not someone is 60 or 5 years old, or someone's in their 30s taking care of their parents because they can't think straight. It doesn't care. It lives in a state of perfect equality and fairness. It's only here to be what it is and recognize the other, not look at it as this person's older, they should be wiser.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can even look at Buddha or Jesus or whatever, and the age that Alexander the Great, all these, they all were very young when they.
There's young. There have been great spirits.
Yes.
That have come and touched this planet, and we need to wake up and recognize those great spirits, whether they're older than us, younger than us, or ones that are a part of history, because there's so much to learn from going forward in life and being something of greatness, and something of greatness to yourself and something of greatness to creation. Doing the absolute maximum of what it means to be a human being. To stretch the limits of yourself and recognize what those limits are. That is real growth in the spirit and the consciousness. That is the fullness of life that we all need to search for. That will happen with time. It will happen with recognition. And creation will always be fair in allowing that opportunity to be taken if you choose to take it.
But that's our free will.
And that is your free will.
But it's there. The opportunity is there.
Always.
Like you said, in the untruth is the truth there.
Correct.
It's just a matter of recognizing that in that moment.
Right.
And that is what creates higher consciousness and self-awareness.
That's precisely correct.
Cool. So let's look at the next one. Here we go. And this is the last one. The fairness of the truth, which has been stricken with insult and defilement, is only difficult and hard to attain. And every life form pays its tribute exactly according to its measure, that it is turned to the truth and thus to the creation.
Okay. So what it's saying is, sometime sooner or later, you have to figure out what the truth is. And paying tribute to it means you will feel the effects of your untruth.
Right.
It's just going to happen. You'll feel it a lot. Maybe you feel it a little. But something in the very end will always drive you towards the truth. And creation is fair in making sure that it maintains that balance. And no matter how much people badmouth the truth and shout from rooftops about things that are false, the truth will always come back. It is something that is completely immutable. And that's what that is. That's what is gathering at that point. If you continue to lie, you're going to have to pay up sometime.
Yes.
You're going to have to pay up to the laws because you've been trying to evade them. You've been trying to control things you cannot control. Time to pay the piper.
I like that. The control. That's what lies are.
Yeah.
It's you trying to control something.
Yeah. Lies are you trying to control something you have no control over. Even trying to control your thoughts because you haven't considered the truth.
Yes. Or you're putting your flavor on it.
Yeah.
It's like when you take those, what's the guy with the salt? He goes like this. throws this little. Have you seen that? Have you seen that?
What are you talking about?
So it's a guy that he's a restaurateur and he's famous and he gets millions and millions of views and he'll make like a big prime rib or something and then he's
see the guy goes bam?
Yeah, and then he throws like salt all over, or he goes like this.
And
sprinkles
who is this
salt
guy?
on it. And he's like a showman, you know.
Why can't I think of his name? Is his name somewhere with an E or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it's this thing. We always want to put our flavor on the truth, and then it becomes an untruth.
Yeah, I know.
We think it's wrapped pretty.
Yeah,
it tastes amazing, but it's still an untruth.
Yeah, you're being unfair, and you're lacking any sort of equality to the truth itself. You're just creating a world of imbalance. You know.
Something that you have here that I want to understand is you use the word stricken.
Yeah.
Stricken with insult and defilement. And stricken is a great word, especially now going through a pandemic.
Yeah. When you talk about stricken, it means that we are just bashing the truth, hammering it with lies, just spewing illogical nonsense. Like, why would you do that? But we do it just so much. We just wrench it all the time. We're just throwing as much crap as we can at the truth, trying to evade it and dodge it and talk around it and come up with our own stories. But, you know, you're only hurting yourself by doing so.
Well, it reminds me of, do you remember the criminals with the unbreakable glass with the brick? Have you seen those videos?
No.
So there's like criminals and they're just little punk kids or whatever.
Should have told them to throw porcelain.
And so there's several videos of this where they have like a brick, you know, like a big red brick.
Yeah. And
they throw it at this big piece of glass. And then it's that unbreakable glass that flexes.
Yeah.
So the brick hits him in the head and knocks him out on the ground, you know. And to me, it's the same thing of truth.
It couldn't be any more.
We're only hurting ourselves.
We're only hurting ourselves.
The truth is the truth.
I'm going to bomb a lie. And then the lie comes back and hits you. Yes. Right? But we're always just bombing lies, you know, stricken the truth. It's so much injustice towards what is.
And the brick is the law, cause and effect.
Yeah, and the brick is cause and effect. It's just like this beautiful thing that's happening.
Yes.
And there's an interaction between you, the brick, and the glass. Yes. That's the law of interaction. And then you got the law of motion because you're throwing it. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. And it's also the law of free will because I made the choice to come up with the lie and bomb it at the glass and have it come back.
Yeah, and then I'm laying on the ground.
And then I'm dead, and now I reincarnate. Perfect. Full set and done.
That one video just described all the laws of creation.
Yeah. That is fabulous.
That's funny.
That's fabulous.
We can even look at fairness with this. It's like there's something in there that I want that I didn't earn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this and get mine.
Yeah. The only thing
I'm going to break a law.
The only thing you're entitled to.
Yes, I'm entitled to this.
Are creational laws in your evolution. You are not entitled to any material thing, nothing else.
I love that. So we found what the word stricken means because that sounds so 1600s.
It's a great word.
I know.
It's so precise.
Yes. And you said defilement is only difficult and hard to attain. And every life form pays its tribute. And we talked about that already. Mm-hmm. But this is what I want to talk about. Exactly according to the measure that it is turned to the truth and thus to creation. The word measure.
So if I'm going to do a large amount of untruth, I'm going to get hammered with an equal amount of truth. That's the measure. The more I go towards the truth, the more I'm going to get in return of a positive evolution for myself. How much do I choose to turn to the truth or the untruth?
So that's what the law of attraction is. The law of attraction is you going towards the truth, which will give you an outcome of your fruit.
That's exactly what it is. And that's bringing things to fruition.
Yeah, it's not sitting there saying, I'm going to do 10 affirmations of I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a millionaire. And then you're just go back to sitting on the couch. I did my 10 affirmations.
Okay, great. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we have The Secret, we have these books and stuff, law of attraction and all this. And in actuality, it's just you responding to the truth. Jeff Bezos, we'll use him again. He found a truth. People want convenience. Yeah. And they purchase things. And they're willing to wait a day or two to be able to get whatever item they want so they don't have to go to a brick and mortar store.
And he kept working that truth and it became something successful for him. That was his fruition.
Yes.
Those are the fruits of his labor. $60 billion.
Yeah, and Steve Jobs said, they want a small computer that they can hold in their hand, and then I'll make these little apps.
Yeah.
Or he's like, hey, Pixar would be a great investment. Let's people love
people love animated films.
Yes.
Or like you and I, Tartle, people should control their data and get paid for it.
Yes, exactly.
People should share information towards causes they care about.
Yeah, and I think that's something I want to get into real quick because I know for HDL, especially in our sponsors and stuff like that, but I want to get into Tartle because you have a part in there where, and this is important with this, you say our world.
Yeah.
Or your world.
Your world.
Yeah, your world, your specific world.
Because when you say your world, it's a view of microcosm, macrocosm. It's my world right here.
Right.
My little internal one with me that I can only see this much. And then your world is the totality of everything that I live in.
So whenever somebody shares their data on Tartle, and you can sign up and go to tartle.co, and they get paid, of course, that part.
Yeah.
But how are you designing the system and what is happening now to be able to give to the world?
Yeah, we're designing the system so that if there are causes we care about, like the American Heart Association, right? And, figuring out what's going on with cardiovascular disease, you can share with all these other collective of people your medical information specifically towards that cause to solve that problem. We're assimilating the power of all of our group knowledge and our data, and we're focusing it on one specific thing to get it solved.
So I could say my mom had colon cancer. She's still alive, but my mom had colon cancer, and I think that's important. So my 23andMe data, I want to make sure that I share that
specifically with whatever institute specializes in
colon
that
cancer, right?
And you can see in the new renditions that come out, it's like this is what 10,000 people are working towards,
right?
And the company will buy it from you. And if you want to donate those earnings back to them later to even deepen the support of that cause, go do it.
I love that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
And that's why when you share your data, you can earn money and you can change your world.
Yes. And whenever you sign up for Tartle.co, you're an early adopter. And so that means the system is working. There will be updates. So, like right off the bat, don't think that this is a scam because you didn't get $22,000 worth of Bitcoin.
Be patient. It takes time. I mean, we're trying to make things beautiful. We're trying to deliver you the most amount of value.
Yes.
And speaking of value and delivering that, things have to move when you have to get places.
Right.
And if you want something that is quality,
right,
and it's made with great Japanese precision, you go to Quality Mazda over here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah. For those that are here in New Mexico, I think it's important to understand the least place that you want to be in any place that you want to go. If you had to rate it, probably court would be number one.
Yeah, court.
Maybe. Number two, though, would be a dealership.
Yeah, a car dealership.
You just don't want to experience that mayhem. And, even now, I look at dealerships and it's just, you have this. But one of our sponsors, Quality Mazda, you're going to be treated fairly. You're going to be treated with the utmost respect. Their value of humanity.
They value the law of equality.
Right. Yes. And everyone there is a product specialist, not a salesperson.
Yeah.
So they get paid differently. They're there to share and understand the product that you're looking at.
It's more of an educational buying experience rather than a coercive one. And
100%.
so we want to shout out to our very generous sponsor, Quality Mazda.
Yeah, QualityMazdaNM.com. You can go there, look at pre-owned and new vehicles. Also, once again, Tartle.co. You can sign up, start getting paid for your data or purchase data.
If you're a buyer. Yeah.
Yeah, or a company can sell their data.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Let's wake up and let's start being fair.